Hey everyone, I'm Jen, and I own a veterinary technician relief business.
And I'm Michelle. I own a veterinary technician mobile house call business.
And you are listening to Endless Journeys, the Vet
the Tech Odyssey podcast.
In this podcast, we will be discussing and meeting with credentialed technicians who have created their own path with business ownership within the veterinary space.
Our goal is to help inspire burnt-out vet techs before they leave the industry altogether through our stories and the stories of other vet tech business owners.
All right, before we jump into today's episode, we want to give a huge thank you to one of our sponsors, Action Vet Tech Services, or AVTS.
AVTS is an RVT-owned staffing, training, and consulting agency founded by Jacqueline Phillips RVT, based out of North Carolina with a nationwide reach supporting credentialed veterinary technicians.
What we really love about AVTS is that it was built for technicians. Their entire mission is focused on creating empowering and autonomous career paths for credentialed technicians, so RVTs, CVTs, LVTs, and even VTS specialists.
Their team includes about 30 to 45 professionals with a huge range of specialties, and many of them have been with AVTS for more than 3 years. It's a group that's really focused on leadership, education, supporting each other.
AVTS offers flexible relief staffing for clinics and hospitals, RACE-approved continuing education, customized in-house labs and trainings, and consulting for practices looking to improve workflow, compliance, and practice management.
They also create real pathways for technicians to grow into leadership roles, teaching opportunities, and long-term career development, which is something we talk about a lot on this show.
What really makes AVTS stand out is their RVT-first owner-led model that prioritizes autonomy, professional growth, and building a strong community of credentialed technicians.
So if you're in a clinic looking for skilled veterinary technicians or a technician looking for new opportunities to grow your career,
be sure to check out Action Vet Tech Services and see how they're helping elevate technicians across the veterinary profession. All right, now let's get into our episode for today.
Happy Monday evening.
Happy Monday. Yeah.
Evening. We're bringing you it was evening for for me it's evening, but for
you,
once again.
For sure. It is. Yeah. It's late for me here too now.
Yeah. So, but we're making it through. It's for us it's Wednesday, so it's the hump day, but this will be airing on Monday. So, got that hopefully weekend energy ramping up for us. So
yeah.
Even though this is like a Monday thing, but it's technically Wednesday. And so, really excited today, Jen, our guest. I love this. Suzanne Thomas.
Yes. We're interviewing Suzanne Thomas. She is very well known throughout the veterinary community. I discovered her on LinkedIn when I first started my LinkedIn. And I feel like she's LinkedIn famous at the very, very least.
At the very least, yes.
At the very least.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has her own podcast, Leading Veterinary Teams. And and she's got a book. She's starting to speak at conferences now. So I've been wanting to speak to Suzanne Thomas. I've been wanting to talk to her for a while now. So we get to interview her today. So we're just going to do a short little intro and then we're going to get right into it.
Yes. And I will say this, I know our whole podcast is business-based, but I think her journey, and this would be really good for technicians who may not want to do relief or mobile work, but who are interested in doing more with their hospitals, like leadership, starting a business. I've discussed my views on corporates, but Suzanne really shines a whole new light on how, there's problems at the top and we're going to try to fix them. So, and I learned a few things today talking with her and just following her TikToks like for the past year. She's just amazing. So it's a really good conversation. So
yeah. And somebody who's brave enough even just to put their foot in the door at these big hospitals, because I feel like a lot of us would like to make a big change in these big hospitals, but we're so afraid to speak up. So I think that will also be an encouragement to some as well.
For sure. Yes. Yes. How's your week been going?
My week has been good. I worked yesterday, and then I also worked on Saturday. I did another Saturday shift at one of the more local emergency clinics who officially they're turning urgent care is what they told me. They're like, we are officially changing their name, and they're officially changing from an emergency clinic to urgent care. So I think that'll be nice. I think it'll be a good switch for them. And then what day? And then I think I worked last Wednesday. Last Wednesday, yes. So kind of spotty on and off working, but it's nice. It's been nice. I'm still able to physically be able to do what I what I need to
Not
do.
much longer though. Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh. I
can't
hope.
believe it.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting bigger, but I'm still like I said, as long as I focus on my strength training and my stretches, I'm doing okay so far. So, and I'm still enjoying going to work at least, although I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit more tired. I was pretty exhausted yesterday,
Oh,
but I
no.
still made it. I honestly was going to leave early last night, but I actually made it throughout my entire shift. But yeah, so nothing super exciting. We're kind of in that lull right now of some days are super busy and some days aren't. And especially with emergency, like I said, it's pretty hit or miss, but it's I feel like once it starts getting busy is when I'm not going to work I'm going to not work. So that kind of makes me sad a little bit, but yeah. So nothing too exciting on my end, but what about
Yeah.
you?
It's okay. So we're right in the middle, like my favorite week of the month, which is like my Clarkson week, because it's like one of my like most smoothest routes. And it's been very quiet, but I'm actually making some changes to my schedule. And by the time this airs, so it's not like my clients are going to hear this and then be like, "Oh, we didn't know." So I'm not springing a surprise on my clients, but I made the decision to shut down one of my routes actually today, like 15 minutes before we came on to record. And
Oh, wow.
it was a hard decision. Yeah, it's a really hard decision, but it was a business decision. And I have a backup plan, but I've been thinking about shutting down this route for about 3 or 4 months now because it's just not producing. I'm spending more money on time and gas for these clients. And the issue is they're so far away. I followed a
Mm.
really good client to a city that's about 45 minutes away from me. And initially, I was going to go out there and try to like build up clientele. And I did. I have 4 solid clients, 4. But the drive down there one way is 45 minutes. And I do like this big giant U. And the drive back is another 45 minutes. And each one of the clients, they live like 15 minutes apart from each other. And in my world, that's a long drive. Like most of my clients are 5 minutes apart. So I'm spending an hour just in between them. And I leave my house at 9. I'm getting home at 1 and I've done 4 appointments. So to me, I can't do it anymore. And I'm kind of glad, like me and you, we had some chaotic schedules lately. And in a way, I'm kind of glad it worked out because I originally had, rescheduled this entire day, these 4 clients for this podcast. But then we had to reschedule them and I left them open. So I'm actually seeing those guys on Saturday. And that's what I plan on telling them because today I was like, I have a midday week off and I got so much stuff done, Jen. Like when you were like, hey, I can pop on early. I was like, oh, great, because I was in the middle of doing some state filings for my personal LLC. I had contacted my insurance company for it. Like I got all these tasks done today that have been on my due today list for about a month now. And having a day off just to like, okay, I'm going to sit here at 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to get my stuff done. I'm just going to hit my task list. And I thought to myself how nice that was when you texted me and I was like, yeah, I'm just about done wrapping up. I'm like, I could take this day, be more productive at home, getting that ever ending list done. And I'm like, if I have one day a month where I have no clients, no nothing, it's the middle of the work week, like the Wednesday, then I'm going to do it. So unfortunately, Saturday when I see these clients, these 4 clients, I'm going to have to break the news like, unfortunately, I'm going to have to shut this route down. There's 4 people who live 45 minutes away that are 15 minutes apart. Like it's just financially not feasible. I think they even knew it, that I was getting to that point with that route to where I'm like, man, I don't have that many clients. But the good news is I have a backup plan. I know a girl in the area who's an LBT who owns a mobile business. So I'm not going to leave them empty handed at all. And I'm giving another LBT the business.
Oh, yay. Okay, good. That would be something that I would feel bad about, right? Is you almost feel like you're leaving them high and dry, but you're not if you
Mm-mm.
have somebody that you can refer them to. So I think that, yeah, that makes up for it right there.
Yeah. I couldn't. I knew I wasn't going to be able to leave them high and dry, but it's been, like I said, it's been in the back of my head for a couple months now, especially because their route fell on the holidays. And I was like, boy, it's nice not having to drive all the way down there. But they're some of the nicest people. And there's a couple of the dogs I'm really going to miss. The cat, I'm surprised the cat's still alive. It's like 22. Um, like every month I'm like, she's still alive? Good job. Yeah. But they're just all such wonderful people. But at least I know I'm leaving them in the hands of another LBT. And I know at the end of this, like this one Wednesday that's going to rotate every 4 weeks. It's going to be my monthly, like, okay, I got to do this, this, and this. I'm not budging until it's done because that's what I did today. And I got so much stuff done for all of my projects. And, I'm on a lot of different projects. And I'm like, I got it all done. Okay, we're good. So hard business decision. And like we talk about later on with Suzanne, it's, sometimes you have to make hard business decisions even when people might get hurt. And, you know, luckily mine's just, you know, farming out good clients to another LBT. And that's the least of my worries right now. Or I'm not sorry. If that's the biggest thing I have to worry about, then I'm doing good.
Well, and I personally, think about how amazing that is that you even have that option, and that's a better option. Because, like, think about when you were maybe first starting out your business, or think about other people who are starting their businesses right now and who are in the thick of it, and they're just trying to get whatever clients they can get, right? They're trying to get that revenue in. They're trying to make their business successful. And so even just hearing you probably say, I have to cut these people off and I have to give them to other business, they're probably like mind blown a little bit. In that sense of like, whoa, she's so successful in her business. She's so well rounded in her business right now financially that she can be like, you know what, I got to let go of these guys, but I'm going to give them to somebody else. I think that's hard for people to do in general, especially people who have been in
Yeah.
business for a really long time. They don't want to give things up because they see it as competition, or they see it as, money lost in general, or disappointing people. Those are all things that come in business. So, and I think it's great that you at least have somebody to refer them to, because I know that when I had to cancel my jobs with the clinics that I have to go travel for, my biggest worry is, man, I wish I at least had somebody to refer them to so that I wasn't leaving them so high and dry. So the fact that you even have that as an option, I think, is fabulous. I mean, it's amazing. And like I said, think about like when you first started, would you ever think
Yeah.
that you would be okay with dropping clients, and then not
No.
only dropping clients, but giving them to somebody else who's doing exactly what you're doing? I mean, I think that when
Nope.
you've gotten to that point in your business, you're doing pretty damn good in all aspects.
Thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and I didn't think about it that way. If I had to give out any advice on this one, is like, don't expand too far away from your home base, because it's going to be hard to build clients from an area that you're not normally in. And that's what I did. So word of mouth. I can't advertise in the community groups because I'm not from the community. So that like really hindered my growth, like big time. Was I was not allowed to do social media in that town because they have rules against that, which I respect the rules. So there's like not much expanding. And even the clients would refer me to their friends, but then they couldn't do the one day a month I'm in that area, which is Wednesday. They couldn't do Wednesday mornings. They had 9 to 5s. So that was like the walls I was running into versus, my area, my town in like the 25-mile radius. I was driving 45 and it was not a good business decision, but I learned from it. And yeah, everybody's going to be left in the hands of another LVT, which makes me feel better. So I know I'm leaving them in good hands. I just have to break the news this Saturday to them and be like, hey, uh, here's my last squeeze of cheese. Sorry. Damn. So, but yeah, business decisions. That's what we got to do.
Yep.
That's my week, Jen. So.
Yeah. Well, right then. Well, it
Yep.
sounds good. It sounds like you're making the best decision for yourself, and that's all that we can do at the end of the day. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Making the best decisions, but not the easiest decisions either. So.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. All right.
Okay. All right. So we are going to get right into our interview. So here we go. We're going to get Suzanne on here right now. All right. Hello. Hello. We are on. Today, we are doing an interview with Suzanne Thomas today. She is a credentialed veterinary technologist, multi-site operations leader, and founder of leading veterinary teams. She is the creator of the Clarity Leadership Program, a structured framework that helps veterinary hospitals build accountability, psychological safety, and operational consistency in real-world settings. Suzanne is also the author of From Competent to Capable, Redefining Success Through Technician Utilization and Team Empowerment. She holds a bachelor's degree in both business administration and veterinary technology and is an LVT in New York and CVT in New Jersey, a certified veterinary business leader, a certified compassion fatigue professional, and is expected to graduate with her MBA with a focus in accounting and healthcare management in May 2026. Oh, that's pretty soon. Her work focuses on technician utilization, culture transformation, and sustainable leadership in veterinary medicine. And I just wanted to say, I listen to your leadership podcast. That's one of my regular shows that I listen to. Just when it comes to just veterinary, podcasts in general, I think leadership is something that we need to talk more about. And I think leadership is always looked to as the veterinarian's job for leadership. But I love the fact that with your podcast, you focus on leadership with all the teams. So we're talking about CSRs, we're talking about the licensed technicians, we're talking about the vet assistants, and we're making sure that everybody is being a part of the leadership program instead of just looking at the practice owner or the practice manager and saying, all right, just figure it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I love. I love listening to your leadership podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so kind. Yeah. And even the book that I wrote, it's very small on purpose, and it's the title is about technician utilization, but it's like that's the hook, right? It hooks you in to say, ooh, we want to talk about technician utilization. But then as you're reading it, you're like, wait a minute here. She's talking about everybody. And that's done on purpose because everything that I do is really talking about the entire team, because historically, right, we really do have, we've historically in veterinary medicine, when we look back from day one, everything has been the doctor on top. And we have been chipping away very, very slowly, at least I have been chipping away very, very slowly at this idea that guess what, guys? The doctors are just like everybody else. They do all the same things we do in our daily life, right? They cook breakfast and they go to the bathroom and they do all of the same things that we do. And so why should we put them on this pedestal in a lot of hospitals? So I come from corporate medicine. I've never worked in any other type of practice.
Oh, okay.
And so so just putting that in the lens, right? And understanding what my background is. And so when we look at that in a corporate hospital, there's a hospital manager and a medical director in most hospitals, in most cases, at least in my experience. And if you put the doctor at the top, well, then where does the hospital manager fit, right? They should be co-leaders. They should be leading the hospital together. How do you do that if the doctor's here They are. They're not the owner. The owner is the corporation. And so how do we break that wall down and really have them be together? And so that's why my message has been, you have these two leaders and then there's other leaders throughout the hospital. And so it's really, how do we have this more team approach? And that's really been the context of all of the things that I talk about, whether it be on the podcast and bringing in different people. And even when I have doctors on the podcast, it's very, very clear before we even talk that, hey, I know you're a doctor, but we're not going to be focusing only on doctors. I am always prefacing like, hey, before we talk, what are your thoughts about teamwork here? Because we have to be aligned before we have a conversation. So any doctors that are on my podcast are always aligned with teamwork.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about like your business? Like we know it's leading teams and team leadership,
Yeah.
but can you tell me like what, like the bulk of it for those who may have not, because I like Jen listens to your podcast. I obviously, I see you on TikTok all the time and I love your content. But just for our listeners who may not know you, like what's the bulk of it?
Yeah. So I hate those like catchy things where like I help people do blah blah blah. So I'll just tell you a little bit about my story, and I think in that you'll kind of understand what leading veterinary teams is. And so I started in veterinary medicine as a veterinary assistant, right? So I was in tech school. I was working as an assistant, and I obviously love the medicine. I love the patients. Who doesn't? But I also watched really, really good people burn out under really poor leadership. Before I came into vet med, before I was even in this industry, I actually came from retail. So a lot of people, the more I talk about this, the more people are going to know that. But people that don't know me don't know that. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. But I have many years of retail experience before even coming into vet med. And so I was in leadership before coming in. So I had this lens of leadership, but I wasn't in a leadership role. So I was in this assistant role, just kind of like, what is happening here?
Observing.
Right? Right. Very, very just like sitting back, like I'm not in leadership. I'm just kind of learning, just kind of understanding. And I just remember that like at this point, I was a technician, but I remember one day sitting in my car outside of the ER. I was going into an ER shift and I was sitting in my car and I was crying because I didn't want to go to work. And I was like, this is the moment, right? Like this is the like, I just spent all this money. I just changed my career. I had like quarter life crisis. I'm going to do this whole thing. And now I don't want to do this anymore. Like I haven't even made it the 5 years that everybody says that we're going to make it. Right. And I just I didn't want to go in, not because I didn't care, not because I didn't love vet med, but because I felt stuck in this system that didn't fit me. Part of it was on me because I didn't know what I didn't know, but part of it was also that I didn't have the leaders who knew how to support me, didn't know how to develop me. It was a system that just was broken, which I saw from day one. The moment I walked into vet med was like I said, what is happening here? It's these managers who are brought up into this system that are never really trained how to be managers, right? And I made a promise to myself that day that if I ever went back into leadership, if I ever went back into leading people in this industry, in this profession, that I would lead people in the way that I needed to be led, that I would be the leader that I needed, be the leader that you wish you had, right? And so that's really the foundation of leading veterinary teams. So it's not a business that I built because I wanted to be an entrepreneur necessarily. It's really a business that I built out of a response to a problem that I was living. I understand the financial pressure because I have a business degree, and I understand the veterinary side now because I went from an assistant all the way through and worked every type of role and watched how it works. And now that I'm finishing my MBA and I oversee hospitals now and I am kind of in that type of world, I just feel like it's really important to never forget being that technician sitting in the parking lot. And so I've built this business around building systems so that leaders don't have to continue that same cycle and live in that moment where people have to sit in their car and have that breaking point. So you mentioned during the intro that I have a clarity system. It's basically a system that I walk people through to find where their pieces are broken, whether it be people, whether it be operating systems, like whatever their piece is. It's a whole like triangle thing that I have. And it's based on the triangle is based on Maslow's hierarchy, but it's created based on all of the different systems that are in our hospitals. And so it's really just meant to look at leadership as a whole and start with you, go to your people, and work our way up until we can create a better system in our hospital, and have a really good, working, happy culture that is continuous and not have people sitting in their car crying in the parking lot. We've all
Right.
been there.
And that happens a lot. I mean, I've had multiple conversations with coworkers that I work with now where they come to me and they're like, I am at the point where I sit and I cry in my car before this shift. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. And and then it's like, then they go from job to job and then they're like, oh my gosh, it's the same deal, right? It's the
Yeah.
same everywhere I go. And so, I have found just by speaking to people, speaking to team members I think the biggest thing is lack of support. A lot of people feel lack of support and they don't feel heard
Yeah.
by their management and by their team. And that just because somebody can tell other people what to do doesn't make them a good boss.
Yeah.
That's so.
Yeah. I think a lot of times the problem is that people in leadership roles, again, a lot of times there there's all these, I don't know if you can see them behind me. There's all these books, right? There's all these leadership books. There's all this leadership
Mhm.
training. We get the training, we read the books, we go to the CE, we do the thing. But then we don't necessarily know what lever to pull. We don't know what to actually do, the action to take this and then get on the floor and do it.
Yeah.
It's us, right? It's us that stops us. It's
Mhm.
generally speaking confidence, imposter syndrome. We're scared. We don't have any way to practice the conversation. And we're scared that people are going to judge us. We're scared they're going to know that we're faking it. They're
Mhm.
scared they're going to know that we have no freaking clue what we're doing and that we just read it in a book and now we're going to just try it. And we're like, oh crap, we're going to do it wrong. And just because Brene Brown says that we should be vulnerable doesn't mean that we know how to be
Yeah.
vulnerable, right? And so what I teach my managers by literally doing it myself is being vulnerable. I tell them, literally, I sit there with them and say, guys, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I've never done this before and I'm going to try. And I show them by walking the talk. I do it first. I tell them like, it's okay. And I know, and you're not like, it's okay to do it wrong. And I think that when you as a leader show up for your team and show them that they're not going to get in trouble if they do something wrong, that's a lot of the time, right? I walk into a clinic and I see that I can't tell you how many times I've heard this, right? Well, I don't want to get in trouble. Who
Mm.
who's yelling at you? Literally last week, I walked into a clinic and they were like, "Well, I don't want to get yelled at." I was like, "Who's yelling? I don't yell." And they were like, "Well, that's a breath of fresh air." I was like,
Huh?
"Huh? Who yells? Like, I don't yell.
Right?
I've never yelled at all. I've never yelled. I don't yell. Like, who's yelling at you? Because I need to have that conversation with that person because we don't yell. That's not how I'm not an authoritarian leader. I don't think that anything gets moved forward if we act like that. Like,
Mhm.
I believe very, very full-heartedly that the only way we make any movement is if we get curious. We ask questions. Like, we're adults. Let's treat each other like adults, right? So I think that if we and nobody's perfect. Again, we all do the same things. We all get up in the morning, we all go to sleep at night, and all the things that happen in between happen, right? So,
Uh-uh.
like, I think a lot of times we just assume that, like, all of these conversations are happening when they probably aren't. They're things that we're telling ourselves. And a
Right.
lot of times we're just scared, and a lot of it is fear based. And so it's really having somebody that you can trust. All comes down to trust and psychological safety. And if we can trust that we're not going to get in trouble, if we can trust that we're safe, then we can move forward. I think a lot of times once we build that first, then everything else comes afterwards. But if you don't build that, if you have a leader walk in and like all of a sudden wants to change everything, then this is going to happen because nobody trusts you.
No, that's
I know
true.
I just said like a whole lot, like moved really fast through that. But like, honestly,
I love it.
that's typically where I start, right? Like like I said, we start with the self, because like if you don't start there, especially with the leader, most of the time the leader might have all of this really great information, but if you don't know how to do anything with that, if you can go to the CE, like WVC is happening right now, right? It just ended today. If you don't do anything with that information once you get it, what's the point, right? You need to know how to initiate that. You need to know what to do with that. You need to be okay with getting uncomfortable. I say that a lot, and people are like, okay, that sounds great, but then what do I do, right? Like, you have to lean in. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to try it, practice. You don't build your muscles. I'm a certified personal trainer too, so like, I talk about that a lot. So like, I know I have ADHD. I do all the things. So you don't build your biceps, right? The first time you go to the gym, right? You can't run a mile the first time you go out to run. At least I can't. So you can't place a catheter the first time you try to place a catheter.
I
Right?
remember my
I
first
mean,
time. Yeah.
maybe you could. Maybe you could.
Jen did. Of course,
Not
Jen did.
always. It wasn't always like
Your
that.
first jug stick might not have been
No,
great on a
it was
cat,
not.
maybe
It
a
was not.
dog, but not on a cat, right? Like
Right.
the first time, like think about that, right? And I
Right.
think we sometimes
You have to learn.
assume that like the hospital manager, the leader is just automatically just going to walk in and like fix everything. No,
Right.
like we all have to
okay.
learn.
Right.
And so if like, it's okay to screw up. We're all going to screw up. Just like admit it and move on,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And so what I do, right, is I coach people through that process. So that's the whole point of leading veterinary teams. And so very, very long-winded answer to your question, but like that's the whole point, right? It's coaching people through that process of where are we today and how do we get to where you want to be? How do we lead a sustainable team? But we have to find out where we are to start with.
Do you work with multiple hospitals at one time, or do you just focus on one hospital at one time?
Yeah, so it kind of depends. I have a day job, right? So I do work for a corporation right now, and I oversee 12 hospitals. So in that case, I do oversee 12 hospitals at one time.
Okay.
And I do use my Clarity Leadership program with my hospitals. It's how I started it, is like I built it with them, proved that it works, and now I'm like, I didn't call it that with them, but that's how I like built it.
Got your
right?
foot in the door a little bit. Yeah.
Right. I was doing other stuff with leading veterinary teams. I was just kind of doing some CE stuff and obviously getting the podcast out and just kind of talking out loud online. But this Clarity program I launched earlier in this year, and so that I was testing with my teams at my my formal day job. And so I've done that over the last couple of years, proving it out to make sure that it worked. I started with one hospital and then went to 3. And then now I've done it with all 12. It works. I've proved it. I've watched it happen in real time with one leader and through the hospitals, right? And so that I can do with one team, I can do with multiple teams. It really just depends on what is needed. If a corporate group came to me and said, "Hey, I want to explore this," we can make it for that team. I actually just put a proposal together for a very large hospital. It's not a group, it's a very large hospital in the Northeast that they have like lots of departments and stuff. So that is something that might be coming to fruition, but it's basically going through that program within each department of that hospital. So it really kind of depends. But again, it's a program that can be utilized at any leadership structure. So it can be utilized with hospital managers, with department leads. So if you have tech supervisors, it could be utilized with medical directors. It really doesn't matter if you lead people in any capacity. I mean, it's leadership, right? So it could really be utilized anywhere.
And do you have hospitals that are reaching out to you specifically, or do they say, "Can you just give us an assessment and tell us, do we even need this?"
Yeah, so I do actually have a free assessment on my site. So if you go to lvt.vet, you can there's a link right on the site. You can take a free assessment and it'll tell you what you need to work on. So it'll
Mhm.
basically tell you where you kind of fall in the is it that you need help in leading more inclusive teams? Do you need help in the actual systems that you have in your hospital? Do you need more help in building trust and psychological safety, or do you have more issues with yourself, right? Are you having trouble regulating yourself under pressure? Do you have trouble taking the information that you're learning and implementing it, that kind of thing? So that assessment is a free tool that I already have.
Okay.
Also happy to get on a call with people and go through that with you, and if you have questions, I'm always available to do that too.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, to answer your question, do I have people reach out to me? Yes. A lot of times. So I do speaking engagements, both in this capacity, but also at some conferences. And so sometimes when I'll finish speaking, people will come up to me and be like, "Hey, do you come to hospitals?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." And so
Yes, I do.
yes, I absolutely do. And so
Yeah.
when that happens, I'll give them my card, and we can go through the assessment. And I can give them the free one, or we can go through the assessment more one-on-one, right? It's really whatever people need. I'm really, I think it's really important to do what people need for them. I think some people really like to be able to go through things alone and I don't know you, you don't know me. I just want to press the buttons. And some people are like, hey, can you walk me through this? I'd really like to have a coaching conversation. I'd really like to talk through it. I'd like your opinion. I've been following you, whatever. I did have some person come up to me when I was at AVMA last year, and she was like, "Hey, I've been following you on LinkedIn," and I was like, "That's really weird." Okay, cool. So still, getting used to the fangirl thing, but
I follow you on TikTok. I like almost every one of your videos. I'm
I
always
know
like,
you
there's
do.
Suzanne. Yeah. I mean, you have great information out there. That's very valuable. Yes,
Yeah.
get it,
I
dump it
mean,
out there.
I follow you guys too, so it's the same, right? But it's interesting when you put yourself out there and then people start recognizing you. It's a very interesting
Well, I'm
feeling when people
listening
see
to
you in
you.
person.
When they're like, "Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
listened to you." I literally, yesterday I was on my lunch break and I had one of the CSRs just pop in and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I saw you on my For You page and I binge listened to your podcast the other day." And I was like, "Really? Oh my gosh." She was like,
Yeah.
"Really good." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. It is,
Oh my
right? I
gosh,
had a
I know that
yeah.
girl. I'm like,
Right. I know. It's so strange. I mean, it's great, but we're also real people, right? So
right.
it's just a weird feeling. No, I had one of one of the hospital managers that for the hospitals that I oversee. She's so sweet. She sent me a text message the other day of a picture of me and Sarah Parsons from BMX. She was
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Hey, I know this girl," and I was like, "Yeah, you should look back and see about skipping because I apparently don't know how to skip." She was like, "I didn't know you knew her." I was like, "Yeah, I know some people." I mean, it's what happens when you put yourself out there. You wind up talking on social media. I mean, I don't know.
Right. And I mean,
Yeah.
and I feel, and we all got here with the same purpose, right?
Right.
Because we see so many other technicians out there that are stuck, or so
Yeah.
many veterinary professionals out there that are stuck, or they feel stuck, or they feel burnt out and they don't want to do it anymore. And we're
Yeah.
basically like, no, please don't quit, right?
Yeah.
Please keep
Right.
going. Just find
Right.
something to make it better. Because
Right. Because to your point, right? Like you said, there you still see people or you still talk to people
yes.
that are crying in their car. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that to ever happen again. And how do we make that stop happening? We make that stop happening by talking about the fact that that is not everywhere.
Yeah.
And yes, that might be your experience in your little bubble of the world, but guys, let's remember that that is your little bubble of the world. There are people like me, like Jen, like Michelle that are out here living our worlds, and maybe we're not necessarily clinical anymore. Maybe we're doing other things, but there are other things that you could be doing, right? There are things, and you guys are proving that there are things that we can be doing to stay in veterinary medicine in some capacity
Right.
that allows us to still be happy and still be able to contribute and not have to cry in our cars or wherever we're crying, right? I don't want to walk into a clinic. I don't want to cry. I don't want to see other people crying. I don't
Mhm.
that's That's not okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have to live like that. And we can be the change. I'm going to sound like that person. We can be the change that we wish to see in vet med, right? Like we can. And it starts with us. And if we can't sit here and expect our leaders to fix it. We can fix it. We can.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mhm.
get it. Like I've heard so many times, like, best of luck to you. I've tried. I'm tired of it. Like I get it. I'm not. I won't stop trying. And you can stop trying if that's your prerogative, but you're not going to get me to stop trying. So I'm here.
Yeah.
Right. And I think
Yeah.
even just for me personally, with how I've been, I've never been in a leadership position in a clinic. I've never been given the opportunity. I have been on the teeter of like, oh, you have really good ideas. We should use your ideas. But I've never been given that promotion of actually being in a leadership position. But at the same time, I was like, well, I'm going to take basically what you did, Suzanne, is you observe all the things that you know people are doing wrong. You give your best advice, and they're either going to listen or they're not going to listen. And at the end of the day, you're like, all right, well, you know what? This hasn't been working out. So I'm gonna figure this out for me. And I mean, and
Yeah.
essentially that's what I did when I went relief. And so, and I even still, I talk to managers, and I'll still give advice and tidbits here and there. But have I officially been in a leadership position or offered a leadership position? No. Does that mean that I shouldn't be a leader? Not necessarily. And it's the same for everybody. I feel like for all teammates at any clinic, like
And
that's
I
what
would
I mean is
challenge you.
team
Yeah.
utilization.
I would challenge you on the fact that you know maybe you haven't been in a formal leadership position, but if you are making an impact on other people in a hospital, in any capacity, whether it's in a hospital or not, if you are making an impact, which you are, by the way, if you are making an impact in veterinary medicine in any capacity to people that are in the industry, in the profession, less time than you are, you're a leader.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be in a formal position. You can be a kennel attendant that has been in the hospital 2 days longer than the new person. You are a leader. You're teaching them, are you not?
Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
leading them
Right.
to learn something new.
Right.
You can be a technician who is teaching them something new. You are a leader. You are leading people to greater pastures, right? Like you are teaching people. I don't know why I just said that. You are leading people to something better. You are trying to share whatever knowledge you have. Therefore, you are influencing, you are impacting, you are leading.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what your definition of leadership is. To me, a leader is anyone who is influencing and impacting the people that are around them. You don't have to have a formal role. And also, like, people will say, well, if it's not the medical director or the hospital manager or the practice owner in a hospital, then you're not a leader. Well, that's not true, right? Every doctor in the hospital is a leader. Every technician in the hospital is a leader. Every human in the hospital has the capacity to be a leader if they are impacting or influencing another person.
Yeah.
And you could be negatively leading, right? Because you could be
Yeah.
negatively impacting or you could be positively impacting. So what do we want to do here? Like, do we want to wake up in the morning and do we want to have a negative impact on other people? I surely do not. So if we are going to work and we're complaining and we're like saying this is a terrible place to be, are we creating any of that? If we are, like, let's flip the script and try to change that.
Right.
If we are involving ourselves in that, let's pull ourselves out of that as much as we can. We can only control ourselves. We can't
Right.
control other people, right?
Mhm.
And maybe, like I said before, maybe we are not in a formal leadership position, but we can control how we react to everything else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what my therapist says. You can't control others, but you can control how you're acting.
Exactly.
Like, good point. Yeah.
Clearly,
Yeah.
I've been through quite a bit of therapy, but like,
We all have,
right?
yeah. We all have. I feel like most vet med has, or they need to, and they
Or
haven't
need to
yet.
be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, really, I think that it's important that we challenge each other on that, because I think that when and I've honestly heard this a couple of times in the past few days, is that people that are not technicians, people that are not in formal leadership roles say, well, I'm not a leader. Why do you say that? Right? Like I challenge people on that all the time. Why do you feel like you're not a leader? Why do you feel like you don't belong here? Right? Like assistants will say that to me all the time. CSRs will say that to me all the time. Why do you feel like you don't belong here? You absolutely have space here.
Right.
You absolutely have space here. Right? Like some of my best CSRs are people from that come from not even vet med. Guys, I didn't come from vet med originally, right? But I took the time to learn all the things so that I could be valuable here,
Right.
right? Like, just because you don't have a credential behind your name, like, yeah, sure, I know I have a whole bunch of letters behind my name, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, at the
Right.
end of the day, what matters is that I'm having an impact on a person who is looking to me for help, right? If
Right.
you have impact on people who are looking for you for help, you're leading.
Right. And I know from my experience just from working, like I don't care, like you said, I don't care how many years you've been doing this. I don't care about any letters behind your name, but if you're willing to help and work as a team, that's all. And like if you have good, to me, if you have good work ethic and you want to learn and you're excited to learn and you're willing to do, anything and everything instead of the people who are like, oh, well, that's not my job. I don't
Right.
mop the floors. I'm an LVT. I don't do that. And it's like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
We're all a team. We're all still a team. So, I mean, that's how I see it. And I mean, we've talked about this, me and Michelle, in our podcast before, where we need everybody. We need our
Hmm.
assistants. We need the CSRs. I mean, I've done the CSR job. I've worked a
That's
job where I
hard.
literally
I did
I
last week.
I went, yeah, I did triage. I was a CSR, and then I was the one who then I was the technician, and at the end of the case, like when we're still answering phones, like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, the answering phones, you guys, is the hardest thing that you could do.
Yes.
And
Yes, it is.
yes,
I opened a hospital last
especially
week
an
and
emergency.
yes. I have not been clinical for a handful of years, and I now, like I said, I oversee 12 hospitals, and one of my hospital managers is out on leave of absence, and they were short staffed, so I drove to Delaware and I opened their hospital. I don't know their PIM system. I learned it in 2 days, enough to be able to open their hospital. I opened their hospital. I closed their hospital. I mopped their floors. I
Hmm.
held some animals. I ran their appointments. You do what you have to do to help their team. Is that something that I'm going to do every single day? God, I hope not. But you do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Like you step in. Is
Yeah.
that something that people in my role can do? Most of us not. Why? Because they're not credentialed. They're not in the field the way that I am. But I purposely set myself up to be able to do those things because I think it's really important.
Yeah.
I live in both worlds on purpose. And I've kind of done this on purpose. Like I've put myself in this position so that I am like an anomaly. Like
Mhm.
and I don't say that to sound cocky at all. I say that because like there's not a lot of me. There's not a
No.
lot of people in that regional kind of role
Right.
that are technicians and also have the business background and are still willing to do it all.
Right.
Right? Like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of us. And I think that again, like I will never forget. I will always say I'm a technician first. And like I always lead with that. I walk into hospitals wearing scrubs. I do that on purpose because it breaks down the walls. It makes people like, oh, she's not the normal regional person that's going to come in like with a suit on
Mhm.
thinking that she's all numbers, right? Because they'll talk to me. And like, because I'm a human and I talk to people like they're humans. And because I think that vulnerability is important. And like I said, if you lead like if you walk the talk, if you lead from the front, people will follow. It's just leadership. And I
Yeah.
think that if that's how I lead, and people that lead with me lead similarly. And I'm hoping that if I can continue to grow a big old community of little Suzannes, then we can have that. Not saying that like I'm perfect, by no means am I perfect, but I do think that like we can have more sustainable cultures if people can lead with more vulnerability, if we
Mhm.
can lead like ourselves, right? Like again, I don't want little Suzannes. I'm just joking. But like I want people to lead like them, right? Like
Yeah.
lead like you as a human. Stop trying to put on this facade of
Yeah.
whoever you think you're supposed to be, right? Because I think that's the problem, is that you're trying to you're trying to put on this like mask of whoever you think the leader is supposed to be in the hospital, and then you wind up with all these like burnt out, pissed off team members.
Right.
Instead of just like walking in and like helping your team.
Yeah.
And being a human.
Yeah.
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 It's not that hard.
I wish you were around back in 2021. And I'm glad to have you on because I've made my stance a few times about corporate med, and a lot of it comes from 2 companies I worked for. And my very last job that I said, I can't do this anymore, was a corporation. And my direct supervisor, while she was very intelligent and she was good with numbers, she was not meant to be a leader, not just for myself, but for her entire team and the bodies that she stepped on, essentially. And if we had somebody like you around to help cultivate that and be like, okay, well, you got into this position. Now we're going to make you a people person. You're a number person, but we're going to turn you into a nice person. And then you wouldn't have so many people leaving, or you firing half your staff in one day because you had a bad Tuesday. It's like needed and so much. And I respect the hell out of that because I went through it and I went through that terrible fall. But that person no longer has their job because they couldn't lead, interestingly enough. So if we had people like you in there, it would make the culture so much more. If we had a bunch of little Suzannes running around, we would have a lot more people wanting to stay in these roles.
What's funny is I'm 5 foot tall, so I am a very little Suzanne. But I all jokes aside, I do want to just be like very clear that like because I know both sides, right? Like I can speak the financial side and I can speak the veterinary side, and I do that pretty eloquently. I'm not perfect by any means, and I'm pretty sure that the corporation that I do work for does tend to lean into like, Suzanne, you are too nice. But I think that there's, I do take a little bit longer to get the results that they would like, because it does take a little bit longer to like, build the trust and to build the sustainable cultures. And it does take a little bit longer than the fast, like we need the numbers, we need the things. And so I think that there's this like really like intricate dance that needs to happen. And because of being kind of in the middle on both sides, it's not an easy place to live. And that's probably why there aren't a lot of people that have both sides, because it's not an easy place to live. And I do spend a lot of time internally, like with this friction of like, I want to do the right thing by the team, but I also have a job to do. So there is a lot of that goes on of like, okay, well, we have to hit these numbers, but how do I do that in a way that still feels morally okay, right? Like I still have to remember that there are people at the end of these numbers. And so there is this like pull that goes back and forth. And so as long as I'm able to, at the end of the day, put my head on the pillow and know that like I'm able to still do my job in a way that like hits the like company's goals, because I still have a job, but in a way that make sure that these people are not forgotten, then like, because I'm like very strong moral foundation, then like we are okay, right? And the company that I work for knows that, and like so far so good. But I think that that's always been something for me that is and will probably always be the thing that is friction. And so I think for people that sit in my role, that's where you wind up with you have the vet med person, or you have the very operation, like heavy finance person. And there's not a lot of the people with both, because the people with both don't scale well. But it's just because it's very hard to sit here. It really is. So, I mean, it's just something to like take note of. Like there's a lot that goes on in the brain of mine of like, how do I keep the people happy and the business happy at the same time? It's very hard.
Yeah, I can see that.
Even with like small businesses, I'm in a conundrum right now where I'm closing down a route, but business wise, that route does not make sense.
Yeah.
And I have no choice, but there's people there, but I'm like, I'm losing money consistently on this one route per month. So it's the same thing. It's like, but just different scales of like, we have to make these hard decisions, these hard business decisions, and we're working with humans and their pets. And it's a lot to sleep on at night. It is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important to know that, right? And like I think, as a business owner, you understand that piece too, right? And I think sometimes for me, it's really hard to express that to a veterinary assistant that doesn't understand the bigger picture or maybe doesn't care, right? Because I remember when I was an assistant, I didn't care. I was like, I don't talk to me about numbers. What does that mean for my paycheck? Right? Like, what does
Yeah.
that mean for my patients? And
Yeah.
what does that mean for my bills? And what does that mean for my patients? Like, that's all I cared about. And so I think like, I didn't want my regional coming in telling me about their woes. I don't care about you, bro. I want to know about me. Right. Like, so I know that because I was them. And so that is always something that like I'm cognizant of too. I don't walk into a hospital and go like, so guys, your revenue is like, right? Like that's not going to resonate. So I'm talking about the patients. I'm talking about the patients, but I'm also asking them what's important to you. Because if they want to know, I'll tell them. But if it's like not important to them, why am I going to waste my time? Right. So
Right.
it's really about like finding out what's important to the people and talking to that. And then for me, like I'll just sit with my own issues, and like understand like that there is like this friction with like having to know that there's these people that I'm responsible for, but there's also this business that I'm responsible for. And how do you deal with that?
Right.
Sometimes you have to make really hard decisions that
Decisions.
might not make that one person happy, but it
Right.
is the best decision for the overall business.
Hmm. I mean, yeah,
All
and
right.
people can fight change. And I think that's something that's going on right now wholeheartedly in veterinary medicine. I think that there's a big push on change in vet med. Um, and there's one side we're fighting real hard for it, and the other side is just a little bit resistant still. So, I mean, change is hard. And I think though sometimes the way people see it is like, well, it's worked for this long, so it can't be that bad, right? But it's like, but it is because you're not listening to to the, to the, the percentage of people that they are hurting so much inside, but they're not speaking on it because it's
Yeah.
always been this way.
And it goes right back to what you
Instead.
just said, right? If it's always been this way, right? And if we think about that, how well has that helped us with medicine,
Right.
right? The
Not
things that we've
very.
done with medicine that have always been this way.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Those hospitals that are still doing the things that have always been this way.
Yes. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Some of those are pretty scary. I've seen them,
Yes.
right? So like I've
Mm-hmm.
seen some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we ask them, so hey doctor, can you share with me why do you do it that way? Oh, well, it's how I was trained. It's always been this way. It's like there are better ways to do that now, right?
Right.
And so it's the same thing, right? It's like, okay, like yes, that might have worked then. There are
Then.
better ways to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And there are and we can do things in a way that are more sustainable, that
Mm-hmm.
are like better for our people, that
Yep.
like just try it.
Mm-hmm.
And like what harm is there to try something? If it doesn't work, we can revert back.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
What's my curiosity, when you go into these clinics and you're consulting them, what is one of the common themes that you're seeing over and over again? Like the biggest complaint or the biggest issue? What seems to be the number one thing that's dividing some of these clinics?
It's oftentimes something that is referred to as triangular conversations. So it's basically when person A is telling person C about person B instead of just going straight to person B. And so something that happened in one of my first jobs as a leader, or actually it wasn't even as a leader, it was before I was a leader. One of my first jobs, I was a protocol for this organization. They can remain nameless. You can go on my LinkedIn to see where I've worked. Because I don't even know if it's still the protocol, but it was, and it probably still is. So whatever. That you were not allowed to go to the person directly to deal with any kind of conflict. You had to go to your manager. So that was ingrained in me very early on in veterinary medicine, that was the protocol. Like I was told very early on as an overnight assistant, like I walk in the building, one of the first things that I was told is that if you ever have conflict with anybody, you cannot go to them. You have to come to me. And I was like, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No.
Why wouldn't I just tell that person that I have a problem with them. Nope, you can't do that. That's not the rules here. I was like, okay. Apparently it was an organization-wide thing, not just in that hospital. Like that was the company's rule. And so I have found over time that seems to be like a theme in, at least in the Northeast. Like I live in New Jersey and New York. Like that's really all, like that's my bubble.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's like an everywhere thing, but that has been over time, over like my last 14-ish, 15 years in vet med. I have seen that more than I can count, that everywhere I go, nobody goes directly to the person. Everybody always tries to go to the manager. It's the manager's job to fix it. Guys, let's be adults. Let's fix it ourselves. And so by and large, the biggest thing that I see is communication breakdown, because nobody is willing, or people are too scared to take conflict resolution up for themselves. We just expect the leader, the manager, to fix it for them, which is a huge problem for me. So triangular conversations is really my biggest thing, and it's honestly one of the leading causes of communication breakdowns in hospitals, and honestly the biggest issue for me that I see with cultural breakdowns. And then for that, when the leaders then don't follow up or follow through or push back on that person to then follow through, say, hey, have you talked to them? Right? Or don't worry, I'll take care of it. And then the leader says they're going to take care of it, and then they never do. Right? So like, it's just this like perpetual problem of communication breakdowns, no accountability, no follow through, no follow up, no documentation. Like you could just like take that and just keep expanding on all of the things that go from that. But it usually starts with person A has a problem with person B, but won't talk to person B, talks to person C about it.
Well, and then in my experience, from what I've seen sometimes, then the manager goes and tells that person, oh, hey, so-and-so has a problem with you. These are all the things they said about it, but they don't actually try to fix it. They just say, oh, so-and-so said this about you, and they said that they did this. So then that person then goes to the person who said that, and they say, why are you talking S about me to the manager? Which I have seen multiple times and recently in hospitals of like, so then I feel like I have felt in the past where I'm like, well, I can't trust my manager. I can't trust to go to my manager and have a honest conversation, because then they're just going to go behind my back and tell this person that I was saying bad things about them, when in fact I was just feeling a certain way. And I just was trying to figure out what was the best way for me to handle it. Should I go talk to that person? Should we mediate? Should we have a mediated conversation about, things like that? And I mean, I've seen that so many times.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. And I think you're bringing it back to what I said earlier in this conversation, is that it comes down to trust, right? As a leader, if you are responsible, and Simon Sinek says it, and I'm probably going to murder what he says, but he says that you are not in charge, you are responsible for those in your charge, is what he says, right? And so if you are responsible for those in your charge, how are you going to build trust with them if you are just going to tell people all the things that they just told you? How do you build trust with other people? How do you trust other people? Do you trust other people if they tell the things that they told you, right? Like that doesn't build trust, right? Like, so think about what you're doing before you do it. Like it's not, common sense is apparently not common, but like, let's think about the things that we're doing before we do them, right? Like, I think sometimes we are just trying to be people's friends, and we don't stop and think about what it is, like what is the consequence to our actions. Sarah wants to tell me about what's going on because Sarah is feeling unsafe in her environment. I am the leader. It is my responsibility to take care of Sarah. I'm not going to take care of Sarah by then going to Matt and say, hey, Matt, Sarah is mad at you. That's not helpful. No. Right? Like, what would be helpful is saying, okay, Sarah, how can I help you in this situation? Have you told Matt? Are you comfortable telling Matt? Would you like me to be part of this conversation? What would be the thing that would help solve this for you? right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times people really just need somebody to kind of coach them through it.
Yes.
And I think the problem is that leaders, managers don't have any kind of foundational coaching skills. They're just the technician that was a really great technician and now is like, oh, you were a great technician, so you should be the manager.
Yeah.
Amy Newfield's book, please read it if that is your story, because that is a really good foundation for people that are in that situation.
Oops, I became a manager.
Yes, oops, I became a manager. Very good
Yes.
foundation for those people. Amy's a good friend of mine, so I'm happy to name drop Amy's book anywhere. But
Absolutely.
the honestly, I think that, for people that aren't in that situation, for people that come from outside of vet med, or for people that really like have business background, that have leadership background, that have like management background, whatever may have you, honestly, like, and maybe aren't technicians, maybe you were a CSR that moved into leadership, whatever that, because that is also,
that happens.
the trajectory, right? Maybe Oops, I Became a Manager is not the right book for you. Maybe Crucial Conversations is the right book for you. It's probably the better, that's probably the better book for you in this situation, right? Like, maybe we should be reading things and then implementing them. No, don't just read it and then like leave it on the shelf.
Right.
Start trying those things and really like asking questions. Be curious
And care.
Get out of your own way, ask questions, pause, breathe first, instead of assuming that you know the answer. They probably know the answer for themselves already. Just ask them questions.
Right.
What, why, how?
Right, talk them through it.
Right. Stop trying to give them all the answers. I do this with my husband all the time. He has things for me. I stopped trying to fix it for him. Stop trying to be the fixer. Right? As the leader, you're not the fixer anymore.
Right.
Like, you should be delegating things. Let them fix it for themselves. They're adults. Let them fix it for themselves. How can I help you fix it for yourself?
Right.
That's where we want to go. You shouldn't be the one that has to be, everything shouldn't have to go through you if you're truly the leader, right? So we should be getting to the point where people come to you more for advice. Like, yeah, who knew that we were going to be therapists? But that's kind of what we signed up for when we became hospital managers and leaders.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, and honestly, these are the conversations that I have constantly, but these are the conversations that hospital managers, people that are in leadership roles, whether you're a technician supervisor, or whether you're a medical director, or whether you're a hospital manager, or whether you're leading a business for a solopreneur, honestly, these are things that people, you work with people. These are things that you have to know how to do. You need to be able to have a crucial conversation with another human.
Right.
And if you can't, like, hit me up, because we can have, like, I'm happy to be the person that you pretend is the other person. Like, we can have that conversation and like in a safe place, right? So that you feel more confident. Practice.
Right.
That you don't do it just with never doing it before.
Right.
And it's not the same when you're looking in the mirror and trying to do it with yourself than like practicing with another human.
Yeah.
That's solid advice. Yeah. And even like you said, for the solopreneurs, for the, people like me who's just a one-man operation, we need to learn how to have these talks about conflict. We need to learn to have these talks about how to lead ourselves when we're leading businesses. Like, not everybody is born with, obviously nobody's born with these skills. You learn them as you go. But to have somebody like you to come in and help out in the very beginning, I think would help a lot of small businesses, also, the clinic settings, but regular people like me who are just driving their car all day, like having somebody like you that could help us lead our own selves would be very, very helpful.
And honestly, if there's, I have a pretty big network too of other people. So if there's ever somebody that ever reaches out to me and is like, hey, I think that what you offer is something that, I think that what you offer is something that I could utilize, I'll talk to, I would rather, like, let's sit down and chat about what it is that you're looking for. I'd rather discover, like, see if it fits. If it doesn't, I'd rather give you a resource of somebody that would fit, right? Like, if you need help business planning, I can help you business plan. I'm about to have an MBA, right? Like, I can do a business plan, but am I the like business plan person? Probably not. I have a person who could be the business plan person, right? Like if you have like a need for like a whole on training plan for your entire team, like you need like more than just leadership, I can do that. Is that my niche? No. I have a person who can do that, right? Like I know people that like those are the things that they really specialize in. So I have a handful of friends and kind of built out a network where like we do that for each other. So I think that's also something that a lot of us and I'm sure Michelle and Jen, you probably do the same, right? Like we have a bunch of people that we've met over time that we kind of just like share each other's information, right? Because like I'm not here to compete with anybody. Like I think that that's something that a lot of people really need to remember in vet med. Like we shouldn't be competing against each other. We should be helping each other, right? Like that's really what I think the newer age of veterinary medicine, like the next iteration of this generation of us, right? That's what I see us doing with us talking about these things, with us talking about leadership, with us talking about what is this generation of technicians that are going out on our own and doing things. What are we doing, right? We're showing that we can do more than just work in a clinic. We can do more than just be a vet tech, right? Like we can do more and we can work together to grow and show that we have value, that it goes beyond whatever they thought we had in the 80s and the past, right? And so I think that we can work together and elevate our profession even more.
Absolutely. And that's something that we've talked about too, where it's like we are, there's so much gatekeeping in veterinary medicine, especially when I started in this field. Gatekeeping was a big thing. And it was, if you did something wrong, you got yelled at, even though you wanted to say, well, I didn't know that. No one told me that. So, that if we're trying to get away from that in veterinary medicine, absolutely trying to get away from it. I know, like I see new little baby techs coming in and I just want to like take them under my wing and I'm like, I got you, girl. I got you. Like we're, cause I mean, I remember being that person that had like no confidence. And then when I would try to do something, I also like, if I couldn't do it, for the most part, I had a couple of people that were really supportive, but for the most part, it was a lot of gatekeeping. And so, when you have a technician that's like, well, I guess I can try to place an IV catheter, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, you're not going to try it. You're going to do it. And you're going to do it fine. And it's going to be fine.
Because you did it on your first try. So clearly anybody could do it.
I mean, I literally, like, even just the other day, one of my, like, still call her my baby tech, but she's not, like, she's like my little grasshopper. I was trying to, I tried to place a catheter in this cat and I couldn't do it. I think I poked it twice and I said, okay, it's your turn. And she gave me a look like, if you can't do it, I can't do it. And I was like, shut up, come here. You can do it. It's fine. Like, just poke the cat. And she got it.
I was just saying, did she do it? Okay, good.
She got it. And then I was like, and then after that, she's like, I'm like, okay, well, now we need to draw blood from a back leg because the cat had horrible pressure. So I was like, you're probably not going to get from a catheter. So, and then she looks at me and she goes, well, you should draw blood. And I was like, girl, you just placed the IV catheter in this cat. Draw the blood. You're fine. Like, stop it. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what we're trying to push. We're trying to push that narrative now of we're all a big support. We only want better for these girls, and we want these girls to get where we're at, but we want them to get there faster than you did.
Yeah. Or and not
have or anybody.
Yes, everybody. Yeah. And not have people, gatekeeping. There's no reason for that because like I have said before, and I make people laugh every time I say this, but like if I sit here and I hold on to all the information in my brain, what happens if I get hit by a bus? Like it goes away with me, right? Yeah. Like you don't want that. You want the little tidbits. I was an oncology technician for 6 years. You want that information, guys. Right. I was the clinic vampire. When I go into clinics, you want to know all the little tips and tricks on how I get the blood. Even all these years later, you want to know all my tips and tricks. So when I walk into clinics, I'm like, hey, just so you know, like, I'm not saying this because I'm like, fancy or anything, but if you need help, I'm happy to help. I'm also happy to just like walk you through. If you need any help, like, I have so many like random stupid little tricks that I like, the people that can't hit a cat jug for the life of them. I have these like stupid little random tricks that like I don't even know.
Yeah.
I've just learned over the years that I can hit it from a mile away. And I mean, I hit a kitten that was seizing like this. Like I don't know why. I have all the random ticks. Like I can do it,
Mhm.
and I can teach you. And that's the thing, right? Like not everybody can teach. And so like if I can teach you, get it out of my brain so you can learn and then practice and do all the things and whatever, right? And so if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, where does that information go? Nowhere. So
The
let's
grave.
teach people, right? Teach people all of the things that we know. And so that's why I say, like, I'm not going to stop talking. I'm not going to stop being out there, and you're not going to hear me shut up about all the things, because if it's in my brain and I can provide some information, somebody's going to hear it and hopefully listen and hopefully do something with it, or it's just going to go out into the ethos somewhere and it'll go
Abyss.
somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Better
Right.
than the grave, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And if we're gatekeeping, we're doing nothing but holding this industry back as a whole, too.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Right.
that's the whole
Yeah.
thing. Is like we're just sinking our own profession if we're going to gatekeep for any reason, whether it be
100%.
monetary or to elevate ourselves, or so why not just throw this information out there and be like, this is how we do it, guys.
Right.
100%. And what are you scared of? Right? It all comes down to fear. What are you scared of? You scared you're going to look dumb, right? What are you scared of?
Uh-oh.
Why are you gatekeeping? What are you terrified of?
Exactly. I mean, it's
I
true.
bet you whatever you have to share is something that somebody, probably me, could learn from.
Mhm.
So, like, share it, because I'm pretty sure that every single one of us has something that we could learn from. I ask questions all the time. I was just at a hospital yesterday where the doctor did something that I had never seen before. I was like, hey, I'm going to ask you a question. Please take no offense. Why did you do it that way? And he just looked at me and I was like, I have never seen anybody do that before. And he shared it with me. And I was like, oh, cool. Interesting. I was just like, never seen anybody do that before in all my years.
Yeah.
As an oncology technician, I've never seen anybody do that. It was cool.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean that's one of my biggest advice too. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. Like you could learn from anybody. You can learn from somebody who's only been working in the field for 2 years. And I certainly
I
have.
mean, the newbies know much more than I do most of the time because they just learned it from school,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
I learned so much from the new grads and from the people, like from the technicians that just came out of school, the doctors that just came out of school. I'm like, please tell me all the things,
Yeah.
because I mean, yes, I go to the CE lectures and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
like, it's not the same. Like
No.
you just walked out of class.
Right.
Tell me all the things, right? Like teach me your ways. I'll
Right.
teach you my like technical ways, but like teach me your way. Teach me. Tell me
Yeah.
what's the new stuff. Like I don't know. You know.
Yeah. No,
I think we can
exactly.
learn from each other. It's great. Like there's no reason to what are you protecting? You think that by gatekeeping you're going to protect your job? Actually, everyone, as a regional leader, I am more interested in promoting the person that is going to teach everybody else and elevate everybody else than I am the person who is trying to protect themselves.
Right.
I love that energy. Yes. Yes.
So take that for what that is. But as somebody who actually has the influence to promote people, you might want to listen to that, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. It's the truth. So, and again, that's what we're all trying to do. And like I said, I listened to Suzanne's podcast for leadership. I think that it's still really important to listen to that podcast, even as entrepreneurs, as business owners, because again, you can utilize all of these skills in your business, whether it's in the clinic or outside of the clinic or just in everyday life in general. That's how I see it. So I think it's great. I
Okay.
kind of wanted to talk more about your book that you were speaking of. You said in the title it has technician utilization in it, but it's not so much about that. You said it's more about teams as a whole in the veterinary clinic. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's redefining success through veterinary technician utilization and team empowerment. So I do have team empowerment in there. But it's essentially talking about how we utilize our technicians. But again, I really use that kind of as a hook to pull you in. And then I talk about different ways that you can utilize everyone on your team to make sure that we are having a really efficient team. It's built, it's written small. It's like 120, wrote it a year ago. How many pages is it? 128 pages, 120 pages, 120 pages, ish. I guess it depends on if it's soft cover or hard cover.
Okay.
But it's got some like workbook type things in there, so you can write stuff in there, resource guides. And so essentially, it's got stories because I'm a storyteller, about my experience, talking about why we utilize our technicians, why we use our teams, some tools on how we use our teams, and then really how we elevate each role in our team to build a culture of trust. Trust is always going to be like a through line in everything that I talk about. And then mentorship, career pathways, it's kind of a little bit of everything, kind of in a small little chunk way to try to give people a practical small guide to read it and then do something with it. The whole point and plan was, let me write something that somebody as a manager or leader could read and then go to their hospital and start implementing pretty quickly. One of the I did a podcast with Dr. Brianna Armstrong recently, and she read the book before she talked to me, which I thought was very nice of her. But one of her takeaways was she's a private practice owner. And she said one of the things that she really liked about it is that I talk about how you don't just like create a protocol and then hand it to your team. You let your team create the protocol for themselves. And she really had never thought about that. And to me, again, common sense isn't common. To me, that seems like an obvious thing to do. Like if you want the team to do something, let them build it. And so I talk about that quite a bit in there, how do we empower people? We empower them by asking them what's important to them and then letting them figure it out for themselves.
Yeah.
Something that I actually just did with a team this past week, was kind of similar, and it's throughout the book as well. And I do a lot of the stuff that I write about. I do in the clinics that I'm in, because again, I test the things and then I write about them. Is that I had a technician supervisor. She came to me and she said, "Hey, our like what's it called? The like checklist." Our morning
Closing
checklist, our
list?
afternoon checklist, like the checklists that they
Opening
have,
list.
right?
Yeah, the list.
Yeah. It's not really, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Can I fix it? And I was like, I don't care, right? Like, why are you asking me if you can fix it? It's also not my hospital. So like yes, I oversee them, but I'm not the hospital manager. So it's not really my decision to say yes or no. So I was like, I'm kind of treading lightly here. So I was like, well, tell me more. Cause again, I always ask questions. And, I said, well, tell me more about this checklist. And she said, well, we have a daily checklist. We have a weekly checklist and a monthly checklist. There's also a surgery checklist. And I was like, and it's all in this one thing? She's like, yeah, it's all in the same thing. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, how do you use it? And then she was telling me, like, she's in surgery back here, but everything is in this here and it's in the front. And I was like, so what is it that you're looking to do? And she's like, well, I'd really like to like extract the surgery checklist, put it back in the surgery. I was like, well, okay, that makes sense. And then like take out the weekly checklist and put it here, and then the daily checklist and put it here. Like have daily with daily and weekly with like, make it
Makes
make
sense.
sense. I was like, well, if you want to make it so that it makes more sense for the way that you're using it, that makes sense to me. Right? So essentially, the book, it gives you that, right? It gives you ideas to do things like that, where it gives you kind of the script of having that conversation, which is basically what I did with her of, hey, if you have this friction, I believe that leaders' jobs is to reduce the friction in the hospital, right? If you have friction, what's the friction? The friction is that we have this checklist that like makes no sense. And I'm in surgery and I have to run up here and like check off all the things that I did. Well, wouldn't it make more sense to have the surgery checklist in surgery? Well, if you want to create, I don't want to create it. So if you want to create it, go by all means, go create it. Right. So it's one of those like empower your team to do the thing that makes their lives easier. So it's things like that. And little tips and tricks that you can do that add up to bigger things. And really driving home the fact that, like, hey, it doesn't all come down to compensation, right?
Mm.
Like yes, compensation is always part of it. It's always going to be part of the conversation, but like there's a whole lot more that comes down to why our teams are happy. Our teams are happy
Right.
because we are cared about and we are utilized and we come in and we are being used to our top of our license, whatever that means in whatever state we're in. And we are actually hiring technicians that are credentialed and we are pushing that forward. And we're not just hiring technicians that are credentialed and then asking them to hold patients. We are actually letting them draw blood. We are actually like here,
Letting them read smears,
Susie, do your
actually
job, and then
read
I'm gonna
smears.
go. Right, you go do your job. I'm gonna go do mine. Right, like
Yeah.
doctors do your 4 things. Let me do all the rest. Right,
Mhm.
and so
Yeah.
I think that it's really it's a small practical guide to tell us why we need to do those things, and give you some tips and tricks on how we can get there. It's not a end all be all. It's not everything, but it's a good step forward.
Well, and at the end of the day, I feel like DVM should be so supportive of all of this because doesn't it make their lives easier at the
It
end of the
does.
day?
I think that there's the one thing that I always come up against is the liability piece, and so I think that
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
technicians have liability insurance under our license, we're always going to wind up with, well, the doctor is at the end of the day liable for anything that they do. So unless there is trust between the doctor and the technician,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
We are going to wind up with this problem.
Right.
And that at the end of the day, it always comes down to that, right? In the
Mhm.
hospitals, like I was in a hospital yesterday where the doctor turned to me and said, "Hey, I can't get this cysto. Can you do it?" And I said, "Absolutely. I'm trained to do cystos. I can do cystos. I know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm doing. He trusts me and I can do them. I've worked as an oncology technician and an internal medicine technician. I'm trained in ultrasound. I can do them." Does he trust the other technician that's in the room? No, because she's not. But he trusts me, right? Because I am. It's a trust thing.
Mhm.
I don't trust her either. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's not trained in ultrasound. Can I train her? Yes. Different
Mhm.
conversation.
Right.
But I think like it ultimately comes down to trust in all of it. And every single time that I ever have this conversation with doctors in the corporation that I work for now and corporations that I've worked for in the past, it ultimately comes down to trust.
Yeah, but I think also, I mean, when you know, you do have to earn trust, but I mean, I will say I have worked sometimes with people who are overconfident
Oh,
and
100%.
and so sometimes you have to be careful with that trust too, because they'll
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I got this," and then they don't got this, and then you're like, "Okay, whoa, 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 whoa.
Well,
Have
that's
you
when
ever
you
done?"
break down the trust,
Right,
right?
right. That's, so communication's also really, really important
Yeah.
too in that sense too. So, I mean, I do get it in that sense as well, because I have been in certain circumstances where certain people have said that they can do things and then you watch them and you're like, okay, it doesn't, what are you doing? And then
Yeah.
they're like, well, I've never done this before, but I've seen it done a million times. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, slow down a little bit. So,
Yeah.
things like that. So, I mean, I do, that is understandable. And again, that's another reason why there's multiple people that I know of that are working on liability insurance right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So,
And I
for
think that's
technicians,
where
hopefully that will happen soon.
yeah, but I think that's where the biggest piece is the in like title protection, in moving towards technician utilization. We can talk about tech utilization until we're blue in the face, because trust me, I
Hmm.
do all the time.
Yeah.
And we can have these conversations, but the problem always comes down to the fact that we don't know, there's no standard. There's
Right.
truly no standardization as far as what the training is for any given person, right? Because yes,
Right.
you went to school, but what was your training?
Yeah.
What is your actual physical like your knowledge is one thing, but what do you do, right?
Right.
Like you're trained by a doctor that isn't trained in nursing skills. You're trained by
Ooh.
like, yes, you have these checklists, and I don't care. I'll say it. It's the truth, right? Like you have these checklists in schools, but then
Mhm.
you do your externship, and then like
Yeah, it's completely
I'm going to
different.
be real. I've seen these checklists. I've seen these technicians do these checklists. Do they really do the skills, or are you just getting checked off? Like, I don't know.
Right.
What are the actual, like, how do we know what people are really doing? And
Right.
so it's just like, we don't know. And so you really, like, I was a technician, like, I went around hospitals and I actually like paid attention and checked people off. It was part of my job in a previous role. And so like, I did that. I checked people out. It wasn't for school. It was like part of like a tiering program for that
Yeah.
company. And so like I can create tiered programs for hospitals. That's not what I
That's
do
so
as part of
cool.
leading veterinary teams, but like I can do that. I think that more companies should do that. If you have that in
They
your
should.
organization, that's amazing. I think that that is something that corporations and larger companies and smaller companies should be doing, so we have more standardization, and then we could have bigger conversations around what does this look like. Like let's stop expecting the states to do it. Let's do it ourselves. Like we keep expecting other people to fix this.
Right.
Let's fix it ourselves, right? I'm only one person. I can't fix it all. I
Yeah.
wish I could, but I know there are people who are trying, right? Ashley Selke with Vibe Vet. Like I know
Mhm.
there are people who are trying, and
Yep.
we're making some good
Right.
progress. Like things are happening. So
Right.
I'm happy to say that. But like I do think that more needs to happen. I do think that liability insurance is definitely a huge piece, and it's the reason why a lot hasn't happened, because doctors are just too scared to have the liability under them. And once that piece is figured out, then I do think a lot more will start rolling. Because honestly, if you look apples to, I did write an article for NAFTA. The like the difference between human and vet med nursing, if you look at the difference in like history, I wrote this with Zahara Lee, we wrote it together, and you look at the like the difference in the timelines, we're not that much different as far as the timelines in like how our trajectory went, but they have liability insurance. We don't. And so like
Yeah.
if you look at what the differences are and how different things went about, if we pull the trigger on that, I do think that some things will change.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope for it. I mean, I know, like I said, I know that we've got people working on it.
yeah.
So I hopefully that will happen soon. And yeah, and then yeah, we can start gaining that trust a little bit more and be used a little bit more. Because I mean, that's why we got into it in the first place. I mean,
Yeah.
I know like when a lot of people talk about being veterinarians and being technicians, and then they saw like, they're like, well, I job shadowed a technician and they looked like they did way more fun things. So I decided I wanted to be a technician. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
mean
makes
that's
me
why I
feel.
became a tech.
Yeah. Yep. I didn't even know technicians existed. And then I walked into a
Same.
group and was like, I just need something to do. Can I just follow you guys around? And they were like, well, do you want to follow a vet or a vet tech? And I was like, what's a vet tech? And the girl looked at me and she was like, you're going to follow me around. And so I was like, okay. And then I watched and I was like, this is way more fun. Like, and I want to be a veterinarian. I mean, that's just how I
Yeah.
got into it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, the doctors were, I was working as an assistant, the doctor in ER, and the doctors were in the office, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
right.
Boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We have the fun job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And again, I'm always a big pusher of with my DVMs and I'm like, hey, I'm here to make your job easier. So
Yeah.
make me do all like I'll read your smears. There's so many like I'll do your cystos. I'll like let
Yeah.
me like I'll place the UCAT. Like let me do it. Like obviously not on blocked cats, but like if we just need to get urine, like let me do it. Like you go do your doctor
Well,
things.
yeah. I mean, even now, even though I don't work clinically, when I go into clinics and I see doctors doing tech work, I'll say to them, hey, do you want to go write a record or do the things, that like only doctors can do? I can do that for you. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm a credential technician, so I'm happy to help. And then they get like so excited. They're like, woo! I'm like, yeah, we could hire you, one of me.
Yeah.
Not that hard.
Right. Yeah.
It's wild. But
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, as far as, so Suzanne, what do you think? How do you think your business overall, with everything that you're doing, how do you think that will help the shortage of technicians that we're seeing today?
I decided to focus on leadership because I think that leadership is the I don't want to say that it's the golden ticket, but I think that leadership is a huge problem in veterinary medicine. When, like I said, when I was an assistant, I just kept seeing leaders contributing so much to burnout across the board, not holding people accountable, not like just letting people do things that just shouldn't happen. And if leaders would just lean in and would just lead appropriately and stop getting in their own way, we would see such happier teams. And if we see happier teams, we're going to see happier doctors, we're going to see happier technicians, we're going to see the industry, the profession as a whole just be better. It's hard enough as it is. We
Yeah.
don't need it to be harder. Again, we all have a responsibility for ourselves, but I do think that there is a very big space for leaders to lead the charge. And I think that if we can build this like group of leaders leading the charge, we really can create a better environment for our teams. And maybe that's a big goal and lofty goal, but I do think that I have something to offer there, and that's kind of why I've leaned into leadership.
Yeah. That was a great answer. Yeah.
yes.
I mean, I agree. I think leadership is so, so important, and having the right leaders. I've left amazing hospitals because of the wrong leaders,
Yeah.
So many
personally.
have. Yep.
And I hate to say, and I don't want to be mean, but just lazy in a way where a lot of I've met a lot of managers or a lot of lead technicians that were like, I didn't even want this. I didn't even ask for this. They just put me here, and I didn't even want it.
Yeah, I think sometimes, again, I think they might have wanted it at first and they didn't realize what they were getting themselves into, or they wanted it and they either didn't know what they were getting themselves into, or they weren't given the support that they needed because whoever gave them the role didn't have the support that they needed. So again, it's this like perpetual system. If we fix the system at the top, it all trickles. It's all compounding. And so I think that again, if we can start there, why
Yeah.
I got into leadership. If we can start at the top, it all kind of trickles down.
Right. Exactly.
So
Perfect.
Wonderful.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Was there any other questions that you had, Michelle?
I actually know that, and it was so fun talking to you. I kind of feel like I already know you a little bit just through social media and stuff, but it was so great to actually like meet you in person and
Yeah,
finally meet you
absolutely.
after
Yeah,
us talking for
definitely.
so long. Yes,
yes,
and this has
absolutely.
been very mind opening, and I think a lot of people should hear this, no matter what role you are in a clinic. Like this
Yeah.
conversation is meant for a lot of people.
Or like I
So
said,
thank
even
you.
if you're just a business owner, I think it's so important. I personally think there are so many skills in vet med that we all learn, no matter what you're doing, that you can take out into everyday life, and you can totally kick ass at anything because of those skills, and make any business out of it, not just vet med related. So, but leadership is a big one, and in communication, we talk about how important communication is all the time, especially as a business owner.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
So, perfect. All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to add, Suzanne? No?
I don't. I think that you guys have got me talking quite a bit, and I'm a soapboxer, so that's what I do. But if anyone wants to hear anything else from me, you can find me all over social media.
When are you speaking next? Are you speaking at a conference?
I will be at Hive South, and I will be at GVS Con, which is a conference in Tarrytown, New York.
Okay.
Guardian Veterinary Specialist is a specialty clinic up here in New York, and they have a yearly conference. So I'll be speaking there, along with Amy Newfield. Newfield will be there, and so will I. And I'll be at Hive South, in Texas at the end of May.
Okay.
And then New York, and then New York vet.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, thank you
Well,
for
yeah,
It's been a
joining
blast.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful conversation. Wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on our itty bitty little
Absolutely.
podcast.
No, you're great.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been a blast. I will talk to you guys soon. I got to head out and get my kids. So
This
talk to
sounds
you soon.
good. All right.
Bye.
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 Thank you so much for tuning in to Endless Journeys, the VetTech Odyssey podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and found some valuable insights. If you did, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave us a review and let us know what you think. You can also connect with us on all social media platforms at Endless Journeys, the VetTech Odyssey podcast. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a positive impact in the veterinary world. We need you guys. Have a great day.